Energy prices in Denmark and in all of Europe are going through the roof. I got this month a bill that it's more than double what I paid for the same amount of usage just last year. And these increases are decimating household finances, and the government here in Denmark is making package after package to support. In the meantime, people are freaking out so much that energy companies are shutting down their phone lines, and 4 out of the top 5 apps on the App Store are all energy and electricity related. Today, let's go through how you can handle this situation, which in the end is going to be about 2 things. How you're going to lower your consumption as much as possible, and then how you're going to consume electricity at the best possible time and day, again, to save the most money. To start, as I mentioned, you can download one of these many electricity apps. For instance, I got one called Midstrom and one called Andel Energy. In case you want to see your electricity usage and also the electricity prices per hour, which FYI, in Denmark the price of electricity changes a lot from hour to hour and from day to day and from week to week, depending on a multiple of factors. But again, you just need to know this, and these apps will help you see this. I'm not gonna go through how you set up these apps now in this video, but it's super straightforward so long you have a NEM or Meet ID. So when you open these apps, there's gonna be a lot of information. First, let's touch on usage. So in this sea of data, look for statistics on how much electricity you are using. What is the base electricity usage in your house? Even again for the days you are not at home. So you can look back in time in your apps, like years back if you want, and see and look for and find one day you have not been at home, for instance you have been traveling, and then you know again how much is the base electricity usage for your house. For instance, I have just traveled one of the past weekends with my family, and I could see that our house, even when we are not here, had a usage of 1.55 kilowatts. And that's basically the fridge working, the Wi-Fi router, and all that type of things that we have not turned off while we were away, which is very small things. But again, like this is something that we would still spend so long, I guess we don't turn off the fridge, turn off the router, which we would do if we would go for a long time, but just for a weekend, not. Then look for your max electricity usage. So the days in the last year where you have had used the most electricity. In our case, for instance, this could be a day where maybe after a trip, we came back, we used the washing machine 3 or 4 times, with the dryer as well, we have cooked all our meals at home using the oven, we have used a dishwasher, and of course, maybe it's winter and we have used a lot of lights. For us, this maximum usage has been 12 kilowatts. That's the highest we have been, again, over the last year or so. And then looking into our average. So in our average, again, in our family, that's kind of smack in the middle. So between 5.5 to 6 kilowatts per day. Again, this is how much we spend, and you can see the same for yourself on your own data. So that's basically like baseline. Then in the apps, you can also see electricity prices. So as I mentioned before, specific times of the day, and this is usually in the middle of the day and in the middle of the night, are cheaper than others. It's not always like this, but those are most of the times that it's cheaper. And most interestingly, to me at least, is that there are specific days that are a lot cheaper than others. And this can depend on a multitude of factors, but in Denmark, the pattern I have seen myself is that when it's very windy or when it's planning to be really windy, again, we have a lot of windmills around here, prices are lower because the windmills are spinning like crazy, right? So, and again, we need to go and spend all the electricity. In our context here, what we have been trying to do with our habits, like in my family, for instance, is that if we want to save on electricity, we would just save this big washing day, big dishwashing day, and like all these things where we want to use electricity a lot, to one of these days where we see the electricity is going to be a bit lower. Or as well, for instance, when we have a dishwasher or a washing machine, as we do, that let us put a timer on it. So instead of starting it immediately, we would go to the office and put it to start 2 hours after we have gone, and then use the cheaper electricity. Again, if we want to lower consumption and spend less money, this is the way we go. That covered, I mean, as I mentioned, like once you have like done this, know your baselines, know your prices well, then it's like, okay, how we can lower electricity usage, right? And again, there is one way or the other we need to do this as a society if we want to go through the winter in the best way possible, right? So the top tips for this are: first, buy energy saving appliances. So the big white goods, so we're talking about the washer, the dryer, the dishwasher, the vacuum cleaner, the TV and the fridge. All of these expend a lot of electricity, and if you get the newest models, most of the times they save considerably on electricity versus the older ones. So if you have an older model and you have some spare cash, maybe this is a good time to upgrade. In the same line, if you have lights in your house, use LED lights. They spend much less than the old-fashioned halogen lights, and this can make a big difference. Again, if you have a house, not just an apartment as we do here, but if you have a big house, this can make a difference as well. And then, for instance, there's some small habit changes that, again, will save you maybe a few krona per month. It's not a big thing, but will still make some difference. So cook your water with a lid on, so defrost your freezer. So if you have a lot of freezing thing, that can spend a lot of electricity as well. Dry your clothes outdoors, especially when you have still some sunny days over here, as you can see my back. And wash clothes and dishes only when you have the full package ready to go, not just when you're like feeling like, okay, let's wash some clothes now. If you want to save some money and save some electricity, that's the way to go. But at the end of the day, when I was scripting this video, when I was thinking about what to say here as well, is that just keep in mind, right? Like, electricity demand is quite inelastic, especially again in the dark and cold winter months here. So one thing we are great in Denmark for is that, again, in winter we use candles a lot to light up our houses in winter. It's cozy, right? It's part of the hygge culture. And in the video that you see over here, I go on how you can use candles and other small details to make the most of the Danish autumn and the Danish winter. Thanks for watching.